Paul.
Andy.
Kevin.
No.
Do you believe in ghosts or spirits?
I do.
Yeah.
Very strongly, actually.
Oh. Is it because of your upbringing?
No, well, it's a little bit, but it's also because I believe that the more a person, like, the experiences, everything that a person goes through in life, like, when your life ends, it's kind of like matter in the rules of quantum physics. It's like matter can neither be created nor destroyed, and with all of that experience, the shared everything, like, what you go through, that it has to go somewhere. It doesn't just
Think so?
It doesn't just end right there with your life. It has to go somewhere.
I'm inclined to agree with you on that
So
one.
I mean, that's what I've always believed.
I've always believed that there is a spirit within us, something that keeps us functioning. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's got to be more than just science. It's more than just I eat things and that's it. Like, there has to be reasons why, like, a 23-year-old would just collapse of natural causes and die, and meanwhile somebody who's unhealthy as fuck will live to be 98. Like, there's got to be some sort of factor that makes us run, and I feel like a spirit of some sort would be that. What about you, Kevin?
I'm on the complete opposite end. If you don't have evidence to back it up, I think you're full of shit.
I don't know, man. I mean, I like to believe it too, just for the fact that if by some weird chance I die before Paul, I can just haunt him anytime he goes to the bathroom.
Well, we can arrange that anyways, but...
I can set in some cameras.
I'm gonna taxidermy you and stick you in his corner.
Oh my god, I'm gonna zombie nation him. Just the head in his shower every day.
Oh God. No.
Oh, it's perfect.
No.
Whoa! Hey, everybody!
Hey guys, welcome back
To the Power Trip Gaming Powercast.
That's right.
That's right.
Episode 3. We're already on episode 3 already.
Episode number trace.
Way too much energy
Trace.
for me.
Un, deux, trois. This is episode 3.
Can you please just speak English?
Well,
1, 2, 3. 3. Count of 3. 3.
Okay, count.
yeah, take it easy. So, today we are talking about survival horror.
Yes.
Paul's bread and butter, baby.
I love survival horror. I love being scared. I love playing video games in which you're just like, you're terrified like of what's around every corner.
Yeah.
That's all?
That's all.
That's all I got.
I was gonna make a joke about survival horror when I walk in with my shirt off, but that's kind of survival horror.
I was thinking making of jokes of him having mirrors in his house, so...
I was trying to formulate something too, but I'm not quick enough.
I like survival horror that I can see on a screen.
Yeah?
You take it into nightmare realm. That's, no, I don't like that.
Well, what is it about survival horror you like so much?
You know what, I don't know, it's just like constantly being on edge, constantly being in fear, but yet having the, I guess, the safety to explore that fear without knowing that it's not happening to you, if that makes sense.
So it's living a fear through somebody else.
Yeah, it's kind of like being able to experience this situation, this scary scenario, but in the safety of your own, like...
It's the same reason people love horror movies.
Exactly.
I
People...
suppose that makes sense.
We hate being scared. However, we love being scared, if that makes sense. Because we do get that dopamine rush.
We don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah.
We want to see it through other people where we have that safety of being able to experience what they're experiencing, thinking about it. It's almost actually like a
well, you
like
get
an adrenaline high.
well, yeah, but it's also it's a survival.
Yeah.
It's also like a survival instinct. Like, you see what's going on, so therefore the fear, like, you're constantly thinking like, oh, well, what would I do in this situation? And so you're able to then say, well, if I'm put in a similar situation, this is what I'm going to be doing. And you could do that safely instead of being hurled into some kind of scary situation where you don't know what you're going to do. Just spur the moment like that.
Well, I remember in one of my psychology classes they talk about fear, and like obviously in today's well, maybe not today's society so much, but when we were growing up, like fear for, at least for being a man, was viewed as weakness. You're supposed to be fearless. You're supposed to be a man of action. But now it's not so much that. It's if you're afraid, hey, why not? And I remember in my psychology class, they had taught us that fear was actually a survival instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, it's to keep you from being put in a position where now your life is at risk.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, maybe that's part of it, too.
Yeah.
It's just like a primal thing of being afraid to... I don't know. It's interesting.
To be honest, it makes, like, it's a survival trait from, generations ago when we were on running the savannah, hunting and stuff like that. But I don't think since humans have entered modern times, so 200 years ago, whenever industrialized stuff, fear is just one of those things that's a leftover remnant from before that we just haven't evolved past.
I guess not. But I mean, I suppose not.
I mean, it still has its purposes. Obviously, you go across the street and you barely you miss by a car. The fear is going to change how you perceive crossing the street from there forward. But so I mean, there will always be some necessity for it, but not to the same way that it used to be.
I'm almost wondering if it's tied into like that idea of
self-preservation.
Self-preservation. Remember that movie, The Happening?
Yeah.
It was a shitty movie.
Greatest movie ever.
It was really stupid.
I'm not here to rob you. What?
Was that Mark Wahlberg?
No.
Was that Wahlberg in it?
Mark.
And I remember like Wazama was in it. So the premise behind the movie is that, as stupid as this sounds, trees are...
it's all plants.
All plants
basically start emitting a pheromone that removes human self-preservation mechanic from our brain. It just shuts it off.
Is that the one where the guy runs like into the lawnmower or something like that?
He lays down in front of
the lawnmower and has the drive over lawnmower run over him.
Yeah.
It's construction workers end up just like walking off the roof.
Because they just lose that survival instinct and that desire to...
No fear, nothing. You just do.
Which honestly doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it's like, just because you have no fear, why would you want your life to end?
It more so makes you suicidal.
Yeah.
Would be the better way to put
it.
There is a fungus that actually does that to ants.
Oh yeah.
It takes them over and controls. Well, have you played Last of Us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, the first one, that the spores that take over everything.
Yeah.
That's based on a real fungus.
Oh, gotcha. Oh,
and
wow.
it actually takes over ants, and like it'll take over their body. It'll climb them up to a certain height, and then it'll start sprouting out of their body. But it takes away all of their like self-preservation. They'll get eaten by predators and stuff like that, and never even think twice about walking towards it.
Oh wow,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah, plants are fucked up. Like they actually could fuck us up, but we'd probably just turn around with a flamethrower and be like, "I got you, bitch."
Let's just blacktop Oliver.
Let's go alien. Yeah.
Nuke him from orbit.
That's right.
Yeah, this will work. No problem. But anyway, we'll dive into what we're doing here. So, what do you think? Well, we just talked about what you feel defines the genre, huh?
Well, what defines the genre is of survival horror is limited resources. Yeah. We're used to games where it's like, if you have a gun, you have infinite bullets for it. And so you're not scared of...
Headband. Infinite bullets.
Oh, yeah.
Infinite ammo, motherfucker.
Yeah, infinite ammo, yeah.
Metal Gear Solid
reference. But yeah, it's you're used to the games where it's like, if you have a gun, you have unlimited bullets. Therefore, every enemy that you encounter, you're expected to kill it. So therefore, there's no fear. It's just trying to plow through as quickly as you can. Yeah. Well, survival horror kind of takes that away where you have limited resources, so now you have to... There's a strategy in addition to having to survive and get through. So you can't just plow your way through. You have to plan what you're going to be doing.
See, I don't know. Resident Evil 4 at least takes that entire idea and smashes it. It's still survival horror, but it focuses less on the, ooh, I have nothing, and more of the atmosphere and, like, the setting and being the horror aspect. That's, I suppose, if we go on and break it down into like subgenres.
That it would be action horror.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
so but it's still technically a survival horror because you're still trying to survive the situation.
And Resident Evil actually is somewhat of an anomaly when it comes to my beliefs of survival horror, because obviously my first experience into the world of survival horror was Resident Evil 1.
Yeah.
The first time I played that game, I absolutely fell in love with it. I was terrified the first time that you walk down one of the hallways and the dog jumps through the window.
Oh,
I
God.
think anybody who has ever played that game before will know exactly that moment, like that terrifying moment when the dog jumps through the window. But I absolutely fell in love with it. It defined what the genre was. Resident Evil 2, again, great survival horror. It did everything great. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Resident Evil 3 started kind of turning the channel on survival horror, where you had a lot of weapons, you had a lot of actions, you had a lot of zombies coming at you, and it
even with some of the best weapons, though, Nemesis is still something to be completely feared.
Nemesis is terrifying. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, I'm sorry, because like, especially when you go from like Resident Evil like 2, and all of a sudden like, oh, I can walk through a door and that's it. They can't follow me. To all of a sudden, I walk through a door and Nemesis punches the door off the frame
Mr.
and
X?
has his rocket launcher, and you're like, well, I'm fucked.
Because actually, in Resident Evil 2, Mr. X terrified the hell out of me.
Mr. X did that too.
And he never, like, you left the screen that he was on, and that was it. Like, you didn't have to worry about it, but I was still terrified of him. Nemesis completely changed that, because it's like you had to go, and he would follow you through, like, 2 or 3 rooms.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god.
Especially when he had, like, rocket launcher, or didn't he have a Gatling gun at one point, too? Or was that only for the movie?
I think that was for the movie.
Well, I know he had weapons.
He had the rocket.
But,
he had the rocket launcher, but no, I still remember that. Like the music, anytime that Nemesis was close, that was terrifying.
Yeah.
So it's like you still had the survival horror. It felt like true survival horror. Then 4 really kind of turned the genre on its head, because it became more of that action. Action horror versus the survival horror.
Yeah.
You were finding a lot of bullets. You were defeating a lot of enemies, and it was more so just trying to plow through all these guys. And Resident Evil 5 really, as much as
5 and 6 don't exist to me. As far as I'm concerned.
I know. 5 had its moments. I think the first half of the game was fantastic. It was survival horror-ish, and then from like chapter 4 on. It just completely, I was like, when did this become a Tom Clancy game? Like, it just
Pretty much.
I don't get it.
The games became an over the shoulder shooter as opposed to survival horror.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if that's also because of the evolution of the systems, like the generations of consoles, because they could do more with it. If that makes sense.
It may have, but I really do think that Capcom got complacent when it came to the Resident Evil series.
I think so too.
Because they thought, you know what, we say what you want about Capcom, but they are the grandfathers of survival horror.
Yeah.
Even back when they made Sweet Home, actually, for the Nintendo.
It's true.
That was the first, I think, one of the very first true survival horror games.
I'm trying to think of anything on PC. But I'm actually drawing
if you get the purists, they'll even say games like Haunted House on the Atari 2600. They're like, that's survival horror, and I'm like, I don't know if you could really truly consider it that, but
but are you drawing a hard line because of technology limitations?
That might be it.
But see that could just be exactly what's happening with the newer Resident Evils. Is you're drawing a line because all of a sudden there's a different set of hardware limitations.
Yeah, but
so all of a sudden they're able to actually do all the stuff they envisioned.
Yeah,
so,
but Capcom, I think they lost their way, because they said, we can do whatever we want. We created the genre, and if Resident Evil 4, which was a popular game, sold a lot of, like,
arguably one of the best-selling ones.
It's been on, let's see, it was released on GameCube, and it's been on PS2,
the Wii,
Xbox 360, PS3, PS4, Xbox One.
The Wii.
It's on, it's on the Wii. Right?
It's actually coming to the Switch.
Yeah, it's coming to the Switch too,
So it's been on damn near every generation for the past 2 or 3 generations of consoles.
So they had a very well-received game, and so they said, there's nothing we can do wrong, so then they continued in that vein, kind of losing what survival horror was at that point. And I think that it took, and as sad as this is, Silent Hills had so much potential. It was a fantastic game. I if I'm not mistaken, didn't even win like some like Game of the Year awards for just the.
It's just a fucking demo.
Just a demo. It won awards. Like, people love this game, and that's what it took for Capcom to realize when they went back to Resident Evil 7. They got back into that what survival horror is, and it's not about the nonstop action. It's not about plowing through people. It's about limited resources. It's about the kind of like the history of what you're going through, and just kind of leading you through this well-told story that is just filled with just terrifying things.
In my opinion, the like survival horror comes down to helplessness. It's that feeling of there's something big and bad in my way, I can't do anything about it.
Exactly.
I have to run. Clock Tower is a very good example of this. Silent Hill series is the same thing. It's you're never overtly powerful enough to take down everything in Silent Hill.
Mm-mm.
You resort to a lot of running.
In fact, your character, even in the first Silent Hill, like if you are on a like a stoop of a home and you go off the stoop, you fall off of it, your character will stumble and will fall to their knee. Yeah. Like that is a true survival horror, because these people aren't like these superheroes, army buff guys and gals and stuff like that. It was an everyday man or woman who was thrown into these this horrible situation that they now have to face.
Yeah. Except for then RE can't be qualified, because the entire STARS team are the elite of the elite for police and military.
That's just a type. To me,
it's just
survival horror can kind of. This is now. Don't rip me apart on this, but. I'm sure there's exceptions, but I feel like it kind of boils down to three separate categories. You have psychological horror, kind of like Eternal Darkness.
Oh, yeah.
Ones like that where it kind of screws with your brain a little bit. You have jump scare, which Resident Evil became at some point.
Jump scare, yeah.
It was kind of jump scare horror, and then you have that helplessness horror, where that feeling of it's the world against me, and I can't really do much about it.
I almost feel like of your three types, it's like the first and the third, like they're kind of like those are both psychological, more so.
To a point, I suppose.
Not necessarily, but there's a helplessness.
Well, no, because there's an entire subgenre of games based on Lovecraftian horror that is absolute psychological horror that will
Call of Cthulhu, which
will make you. It'll mess with you to the point where you stop playing for a while and walk away.
Yeah.
Whereas the helplessness for like Resident Evil is, I have 6 bullets. There's however many zombies in my way. Okay, I gotta go around now. They're very different. I mean,
that's true.
Technically, even jump scare is a form of psychological.
Right.
So technically, it doesn't matter how you break it down. They're all gonna fall under psychological at some point.
Yeah.
So
because our buddy Tim kind of described this to me when he was talking about Dead Space. He loves the Dead Space games. They're very good. It's a lot of jump scare. But he never felt helpless, because in Dead Space you're kind of played off as a John Everyman. You're just an engineer, but you have this power suit and this fucking line gun that just shreds these fucking aliens apart. And he's like, there were points I was scared, but I never felt like I couldn't handle what was in front of me. Unlike, like I said, Silent Hill. There are times where you see shit and you're like, I can't reasonably fight this.
No.
Like, I have to run. And, I mean, Clock Tower obviously is, like, the farthest in the helplessness pile, because you literally can't fight him at all.
You literally have no weapons whatsoever, and you have to resort to hiding whenever you encounter him.
Which then comes down to chance.
Because he may find you, and that is terrifying when you are hiding underneath a box, and he will literally start walking away, and then he comes back, and he lifts those scissors and just fucking stabs the box. Oh my god, I'm getting scared again.
Well, actually, there's a game like that actually takes that style thing and makes it go a step further. Alien Isolation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for PS3. Yeah.
From what I understand, there was a version that was supposed to use. I don't know if it actually does or not, but it was supposed to use like the Kinect and like the PlayStation Move, the cameras and stuff, so that like it picked up ambient audio. So if you made too much noise, the alien would actually recognize that there's too much noise. So like, say you're playing it and Rocky barks, the alien knows exactly where the fuck you are.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
That's
actually.
clever.
That is very
So
clever.
it takes that entire clock tower thing and then turns it up to 11.
Yeah, exactly.
There's actually, this is kind of a tangent. When you said something about PT, so Tim was over last night. We were celebrating something, and he showed me this game. I don't know if you've heard of it, called Visage.
Visage, yeah.
Visage.
It sounds familiar, but I can't. I'm not.
Take PT
Yeah.
and turn it into the game it was supposed to be. It's honestly like super mindfucky.
Yeah, but
Like,
also, I mean,
It's really good.
isn't it like? Have you ever heard of Allison Road? Like
Mhm.
that was Allison Road was like the game that was supposed to be the spiritual successor to PT, and I don't.
But
even
wasn't
know
that
what,
one? That's still in development, I think.
Yeah,
though.
but I don't even know if they're still like. Are they still developing it? Is it still?
I don't know,
gonna
because
be,
I knew it was a really, really small team from what I understood.
It was super small.
But like everything I had seen looked alright.
It did, yeah.
This Visage, I'll have to show you a video later, but it, like the opening scene is this guy. He's there's like a 6-shooter on the table, and you see him start loading the bullets, kind of like half-ass into it, like he's struggling with it, and then all of a sudden you start seeing these people in these chairs, like tied up, duct taped or whatever, and then he kind of stumbles over and he just starts picking them off one by one, kind of reluctantly, and then after he does, he shoots himself in the head.
Oh, wow.
And then when the game opens, you're waking up in just a room, kind of like PT did, and you exit the room and then you're just in a house. And you have to like explore this house, and if you're in the dark too long, you start to lose sanity and stuff, and just shit starts happening.
Yeah,
it was really cool. I'll show it to you later.
That was one thing that I sort of wish that games had done more of, is with Eternal Darkness, how they had the whole sanity meter, and the higher your sanity was, the more the game messed with you. And
you mean the lower your sanity?
Oh, the lower your sanity was, yeah. The more it was messing with you, and the more things that you would experience that were just like, what is going on?
I deleted your save file. You mean what?
Yeah. Well, no, I remember like there would be times where it's like I would pause it and I would be looking at something in my menu, I'd unpause it, and all of a sudden my character would just split in half. And I'm just like, what just happened? There was no enemies, there was nothing around me.
And then game over pops up, and you're like, what the fuck?
I'm like, what did I do? Was I not supposed to pause right here? And then it starts all over again, and I'm like, what?
That game really was a really good
It was so
mind-thrower.
unique with that sanity meter, and it's something that I don't know if it was just hard to develop and hard to do things like that, but it seems like games could have used that as a core mechanic for survival horror and horror games, and it's just not many games have really tried to utilize it anymore.
I think it's just because that game was more of a cult following than a commercial success.
It really was not.
was.
It really was not a commercial success, but man, oh man, does that game it is really good.
Yeah.
It's one of those things too, though, where I suppose once it happens, it kind of loses its effect pretty quickly.
I suppose.
You know
maybe,
what I mean?
But
yeah.
see, with modern hardware, they could get around that. Yeah, in
I mean, you could program a lot of
Darkness,
stuff.
yeah, there was a limited. I think there's like a couple hundred things that could happen to you. But with modern systems, you could probably have it so it procedurally generates what happens, so you don't get the same thing happening.
I could, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be pretty freaking cool. So, what do you hope will ever happen with the genre? Like, what would you like to see happen in survival horrors? Like, for me, when VR came out and Resident Evil 7, Get Out. That, to me, is the perfect vehicle for survival horror. Minus the movement thing, because I know you had an issue with the movement.
I got sick as a dog playing it because of the stilted movement.
But I feel like that complete immersion is exactly what VR should aim for. Like that you could do so much with it and play into fears and stuff like that I think it would just be insanely good.
Okay, so you remember?
And I loved it.
You remember when I told you guys about that VR thing where it took you like basically through like the maze that's all set up and you could interact with it?
Yeah.
Take that, incorporate VR with it, but then also have stuff so you trigger something, you walk by a fireplace or something, have ambient smells and heat stuff in the actual environment you're walking through, so you could smell the stove as you're walking by it, and then add actual like actors and stuff into it, so it's an interactive like horror. That would be the pinnacle of survival horror to me.
That would be cool.
Well, I mean, and I hate to do this again because, I mean, going back to PT, but it's like, I can only imagine if PT would have been in VR.
Oh.
Like, as you're walking, like, you are immersed in there. You're walking through this hallway. You see Lisa for the first time.
Across the hallway.
This frickin' tall being, and, like, you are looking at that. Or, it's not just you looking at that baby.
Oh, yeah.
or as some call it, the jelly bean with a face. But you see it in the bathroom sink, and it's like you're not just seeing it on a screen. You are seeing it with your eyes through VR. Like, that would have been absolutely amazing and terrifying.
I think you had left before this happened, but when we played it, but it was the scene when you turn around and she just snaps your neck, like she shows up in your face.
Oh, yeah.
I could not imagine that in VR, dude. I literally probably would have shit myself.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you, Kevin, about like making it more immersive. Like they could come out with like almost like a vest with like sensors that would trigger.
They actually have those.
Yeah, like I've always thought that'd be a cool idea with like shooters, where if your character gets shot in the chest, you feel it on the vest.
The earliest ones I remember were for PC, and they were for basically Call of Duty and stuff like that.
Yeah,
they were rumble vests. They
that
actually
would be
exist.
so cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Like haptic feedback of that kind, yeah, I would love it. But actually, the ones I for haptic feedback like that would be coolest is the there's ones that they're developing these ultrasonic. So when you actually touch stuff in the game, ultrasonic can actually make it feel like you picked up an object.
Yeah.
And so like imagine going through the environment and using something like that and then brushing up against it and just being like, what the fuck was that? Because like all you're seeing is your actual point of view.
Yeah.
I have to say it's I think honestly as far as the future of survival horror, yeah, that total immersion. And I will admit, when VR first came to the scene, I thought, oh, this is going to be just like 3D movies, like
passing fad.
It's just a fad. It's going to come. It's going to die. It's not going to be received well. And boy, was I proven wrong. Like VR has been absolutely amazing. And I remember the first time I ever played. The first game I ever played on VR was actually Rush of Blood.
Yeah.
And so it's like being immersed in that, like that was amazing. Like you were on a roller coaster while you're like looking at things, and it's like, I can't believe this is a reality.
Yeah.
And so now it's like with that total immersion into a survival horror game, you can basically be put front and center into the scenario, but still in the safety of your own home. So it's like you will get total fear immersion, and you can enjoy it because you know that you're safe on your couch, you're safe in your living room, wherever
your friends are fucking with you, slapping the side of your head when shit happens.
Honestly, like the only thing I see as limitation for like VR currently, I don't know how much VR have you two played.
No, I mean not much.
Limited.
Very
it's
limited.
limited.
Like the games you've played so far, you've played the ones where basically to move, you don't actually walk. Your character just kind of jumps to the next segment.
What was that one game where it was like you versus all the robots that go berserk?
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it. Damn it! It's not Human Resource Machine.
I don't know, but like one of the biggest drawbacks for VR right now, outside of like the interactive setups where you have a computer on your back, is that developers have found that when you're walking in a VR game, because you're not actually moving,
makes you sick. Makes
the vast majority of people motion sick.
Yeah. I think that's another thing too, is because you do move in Resident Evil 7, and that might be another reason why I was getting so sick playing the game. Yeah.
Somebody, Vanderhoof actually said that he wants us to try and actually play 7. And I'm all for it. I would love to play Resident Evil 7, because that game kind of took Resident Evil back to its roots.
It did.
Now it's survival horror again. At least for the first half.
It did, and I'm glad that Capcom did what they did, because with PT and Silent Hills being canceled, they saw that, and they saw the reception that it got, and they said, all right, yes, we've kind of lost our way. We've got to get back to the core of what survival horror was, and they really did that with Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
So,
but I would like to try it, and I think he said there are a few tricks you can do that'll actually help keep you from getting sick, but I don't remember what they are off the top of my head. It keeps you from getting that nauseous feeling of things moving while you're not, but I don't remember exactly what they were. But I'll have to talk to him again. Maybe that's something we'll have to try, because I would like to play it, but I think you would actually have a bigger kick out of it than I would.
Well, I would, but I'm a little hesitant to play it in VR just because of the fact, like, I remember how sick I got playing it that first time.
I guess I'm blessed with an iron stomach, man. That shit doesn't make me sick.
Yeah, that might be.
Yeah, but if you play it long term is different from playing short term.
I suppose that's true.
Yeah, I played it for like an hour and a half, and by the time I was done, I was just like, need to throw up now.
All right, well, we covered a lot of this, so we'll move on to, we've hit one end of the spectrum with Resident Evil. We talked about that quite in length. Let's shift gears, go to Silent Hill. To me, Silent Hill and Resident Evil are like the two kingpins of survival horror. Like, I don't think anybody can question that. Mm-hmm. Like, the Silent Hill franchise definitely epitomizes that feeling of uselessness and just that overwhelming, just everything's coming to get me, and I have no way to fight it. And, like, I know Silent Hill 2 is one of your favorite games of all time. So take us through it.
It is.
Take us through the start of Silent Hill and your love for the series.
So, it's so funny because Silent Hill came out in 1999, and so by that point, I think actually the first 3 Resident Evils had already come out at that point, or at least the first 2 did. I'm not sure if Resident Evil 3 came out before or after Silent Hill 1. So, Resident Evil was the godfather of the survival horror genre, but Silent Hill just seemed to have gotten it right. Like, I guess they had a great instructor with Resident Evil, and they knew what they wanted to do, but they really did a lot of things to really, really to build on the mythos of survival horror and just create that atmosphere, like having the fog, where it's like, that was actually a trick that they did because they couldn't render the graphics fast enough, and so what they did was they created the fog so that they didn't have to do that.
It was very clever.
So that it could build as you're moving towards it, so that it didn't have to have it displayed when you're nowhere close to it. And so it's like something that they were trying to do to make things like easier for them or doable, and yet it became just this perfect staple of what Silent Hill was. It's this foggy town that has no people in there, or very limited people in there, and you were just like, what is going on in here?
It was that feeling of being enclosed, but not being enclosed.
Yeah, exactly.
It was very clever.
Yeah, exactly. You can't tell. You know, you could hear the radio. You know that there's something out there, but it's like, where is it? I can't see it because you're just surrounded by this fog.
I remember that game was, they said ideally you should have played that with surround sound, because the radio would actually play in the surround sound based on the direction the monsters were coming from. So if you heard it coming from the right, you knew the monster was on your right. If it was coming from behind you, you knew the monster was behind you somewhere.
I didn't think they supported surround sound.
I don't know.
I think it did.
They support stereo, but I don't think they support surround sound.
Unless you might be thinking of when they did the reimagining of Silent Hill 1's Shattered Memories. That might be what you were thinking.
Maybe that's what it was.
Because I know PS1, I think only had stereo, mono or stereo output.
Yeah,
and stereo is only 2.1, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they didn't have that. They didn't have that for the first one. But then again, I've never played it in surround sound, so maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, Silent Hill 1, they took that helplessness, they did a fantastic job building on that, and then with Silent Hill 2, they frickin' hit a home run with it, because they basically had not only the fear in there, but they told a wonderful story, where you find out through the course of the story that your what's your character's name? James Sunderland, I believe. Yeah, James Sunderland. And you're in Silent Hill. You are really just depressed because your wife had died, and she's been dead for like 2 or 3 years. You get this letter from her saying, "Come meet me in our special place. of Silent Hill. And so then it starts off this whole thing like, wait a minute, he just got a letter from his dead wife, and now you're going into Silent Hill. Like, you're invested from the get-go. And then as you go deeper and deeper, you find out the true story of what happened to his wife, what he went through, what she went through. And it just literally, and I am not ashamed to admit it, Silent Hill 2 was the first game that I was ever in tears playing. When I got to the end and I was hearing the story and just the voice acting and everything, I'm like, this is an emotional roller coaster unlike I've ever played with any Resident Evil game. Like, it just never... Resident Evil was great, but it just never had that strong story that you just felt invested with.
Yeah, I suppose. But also, like, it's funny that, like, people like to look at Resident Evil and say that they've gone off the deep end, like, you know, as far as narrative stuff goes, and how it's gone over the top, but completely forget the fact that Silent Hill like had aliens and a dog running the entire thing.
That was that's non-canonical ending.
It doesn't matter. They exist within the universe.
They do,
and are referenced all over the other games.
Non-canonical.
It doesn't matter. They're there. They went off the deep end long before Resident Evil ever even thought about going off the deep end.
They did, but you know what though? And this is something too that I think more people need to realize too, is that Resident Evil, everybody always says like, oh, the bad voice acting and
it was meant to be a Romero like style cheesy horror.
It was
movie.
meant to be a B-movie horror. Like stylized game, like a George Romero's Dawn of the Dead and all of that stuff.
What is it?
What is it? Blood.
That scene is
Jill,
so fucking great.
Go see if you can find any other clues. I'll be examining this. I hope this is not Chris's blood. God. Oh God, yeah, no, it was absolutely terrible, but that's what they were going for. And with Silent Hill, I think they were going for a true horror experience, like through and through. It wasn't supposed to be satirical. It wasn't supposed to be funny. But then I think that's probably why they put in those kinds of endings, like with the dog and the UFOs, is because it was just kind of like, I don't know.
I don't care what you say. The UFO ending is the canon ending for me.
For all that you go through, it's like, no, the game can kind of take itself like a little. It can make itself silly at times, and so it's like for what you go through. It's kind of a nice touch to me that it's like, yeah, it can embrace its silliness, but it does not diminish the quality of how scary and terrifying the game is and what it puts you through.
Yeah.
From the first time you hear that alarm going off and you see the screen just kind of go dark and you're just like, oh my God, like what the hell is going on? And now all of a sudden it's like things that you thought were like they were one way. And now it's like walls are now grates and they're like fences and it's just, oh God, it was the perfect way to tell a story. And so I think that honestly, it's so tough to debate, like at least for me, like who did it better, who reigned supreme? Is it Resident Evil or Silent Hill? Because Resident Evil, like I think that Silent Hill has Resident Evil to thank for the direction that they went, but at the same time they did it so much better.
Well, I'm gonna say like
than Resident Evil.
Resident Evil is the monster mashup of the horror genre.
And it's always going to
Whereas like Silent Hill is more of the Leatherface, the creature like the
pyramid
or
head.
the hills and the hills have eyes. It's more of the there is something out there. But it's not necessarily always going to be a creature in your face.
I suppose like supernatural would be a better way to put it. Like Silent Hill kind of leans more like supernatural, otherworldly.
But see, that's the thing.
Resident Evil goes like biological, like mutations.
But see, that's the thing is like even with Silent Hill, there are certain aspects of it that the way it's played out, it can be an entire delusion in the character's head.
Well.
And that's why you can't say it's supernatural because you don't know if it's actually happening to them or if they're just losing their fucking mind from, like, the guy that, is it the first character whose wife's in the trunk at the beginning of the car?
Harry?
You never even know?
Is it Harry Mason?
The one who killed his wife?
Harry?
Yeah, one of them, the guy that he's got the letter from his wife. The wife is in the car at the beginning of the game.
Yes, that's two. That James Sunderland's character, yeah.
He could literally just be going off the deep end and wandering through some town, and the stuff he's interacting with could just be the people in his town, and he's delusional.
Yeah, and that's actually, people have debated that and stuff like that. Like, his wife is in the trunk of the car at the beginning of it, and so when he, like, when you get the bad ending and stuff like that, he drives his car into the lake.
Yeah.
Into, I think it's, like, Toluca Lake, and, you realize that, like, his wife's in the trunk, and so she's, like, he kills himself with his wife, which she was already dead.
Well, he just had her body in the trunk.
But he had her body in the trunk.
I was about to say, isn't it like the overall idea of Silent Hill is that the characters are dead? Or like there's some form of a hell or something like that?
See, but again, that goes into is it a literal hell or is it just a perceived hell that they're putting themselves through? There is no definitive thing anywhere in Silent Hill that I'm aware of that says, yes, this is really happening.
Well, and I think that's why it does it so well, is because it can be perceived in both ways.
Yeah.
And I think that each way you perceive it
to be that way.
Yeah, though, each way you perceive it is correct. Like there's no wrong way to perceive it. And yes, from what you said, that is what the core of Silent Hill really became with from Silent Hill 2 on. Because number one, it really wasn't about like it really was just kind of a father's journey to try to get his daughter back, to understand what ended up happening to her. Silent Hill 2 really is what transformed it into the town of Silent Hill. It's an allegory for what, like, punishment that this person should receive. And so it's like, even in the form of the creatures that you experience, that you run into, it is a reflection on what your character has gone through, and what like the I guess what they've been doing. It's like so he was sexually repressed because he couldn't, like, his wife was in the hospital, and so they couldn't be intimate. So a lot of, like, the characters that you run into, or a lot of the enemies, it's like you've got the sexy nurses that don't have faces. You've got, like, you've got creatures that have, like, bodies that their chest opens up, and it's like it's all like an allegory of what he had been going through and things of that nature. And so yes, it then kind of turned into Silent Hill was more of an allegory of the characters', I guess, punishment, or like
emotional trauma.
Emotional trauma, yes.
Okay.
That's a better way of
See, okay, I do have one question. Like, I know people, like, say that certain creatures represent certain sins and things that the people done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that a legitimate thing that the developers have said, yes, this is what they represent?
It is.
Or is it a Alice in Wonderland type situation where it's after the fact, people are reading information into the story?
No, I think the guy who created a lot of the monsters, Masahiro Ito, he has gone on record and said that that was the inspiration for a lot of characters. So I think it's
but does this apply to the series as a whole, or is it just individual games and creatures?
Well,
that's where
I would say individual games and creatures, but because, like, with Silent Hill 1, they really didn't have a formula at that point.
Yeah.
They knew what they wanted to do, they knew what the end goal was, but they weren't thinking about, like, allegorical stuff, they weren't thinking about that. 2, 3, 4, well, maybe 2 and 3 for sure. The creatures were designed with that in mind. Like, the things, the emotional trauma, they built on that. So there was a character who was, I think that she had suffered, in Silent Hill 3, she had suffered some emotional and physical abuse from her father, and so one of the characters, or one of the enemies that you fight, like one of the boss characters, is basically a guy, it's like a big giant bed. And so, that's basically because of the abuse and everything that you went through. That was one of the creatures that you fought.
Mm-hmm.
By the time Silent Hill 4 came around, I don't know if they were necessarily doing that, and definitely I would say by, like, Silent Hill Homecoming, Silent Hill Downpour, they just I don't think the creatures had anything to do with that kind of.
See, that's what I was wondering, because like, yeah, I know, especially with Silent Hill 2, it's a lot of, okay, this creature represents this and that, but like, the more I look at the series, the less I see that.
It was more of, so Team Silent was the first, like, they were the core team that created Silent Hill, and they worked on Silent Hills 1, 2, and 3, and I believe they may have done 4, but I'm not 100%. And after that, it wasn't Team Silent anymore. And so I think that was a very Team Silent thing to do, was to create characters or enemies that were based on what the character was going through. And then when it wasn't Team Silent anymore, when it was developed by the other companies, they just kind of threw that to the wind, and they said, what can we do that's really just disgusting and really scary. And it's not to say, I mean, there was some really scary enemies in the later Silent Hill games, but it didn't have as strong a meaning as it did in the earlier games. But yes, they did go on record saying that in the beginning, it was definitely something. It's not just clues that people picked up on years later and are trying to make these
well, like
jumps.
I said, people have a habit of like reading stuff into stories.
They do.
Like I said, Alice in Wonderland is a great example, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's a story about drugs and this shit and that, and none of that happened, like, was inferred into that story until like the 60s.
Exactly. When
like,
that's what was going on.
It was literally just a nonsense story he told his friend's child that he sort of had a crush on or whatever. So like, it was just nonsense he made up as a bedtime story. And then like later on, it's like, oh yeah, the rabbit represents cocaine, and like, yeah, okay, the one drug reference that's actually in there is the caterpillar smoking a hookah. That's the only one in the entire story.
Which is so funny, because the hookah is like before like the common person even knew what a hookah was at that point. That's so funny.
I would say the most experience I have with Silent Hill would be the third one, because I remember my younger brother playing it a lot, and I remember Heather very, very closely. And I always remember...
You remember Silent Hill 4, too.
God, what a terrible game. Honestly, 4 fell off for me. Escort to the nth degree. It was terrible. But 3, I've never played 2. I've never experienced 2, so I don't know if this was already in 2, but the one thing I remember really loving about 3 was, like you had said before, like the way you transition between the worlds. Where, like, she would go into a bathroom and, like, turn the tub faucet on, and it's blood coming out, and then all of a sudden you're in the nightmare world again. Like, it was just cool touches like that even, like, translated into the future, like, games a bit. Which, and I stand steadfastly by this statement, Silent Hill the movie was probably the best game-to-movie adaptation ever done. Like, it was seriously, it replicated the feel of the games so well.
I'm sorry, Mario Brothers.
But just the way, like,
Mario Brothers was good.
Just the way the horn or the siren goes off and everything peels away was so resonant, or so Silent Hill 3. It was scary.
It was so true to its source material.
Yes.
They threw in the added story of like the mine fire or the coal fire that was burning underground, and so actually in Silent Hill 1, the stuff that's floating down, that's snow. It's actually snow in the game, but in the movie they say, because of the coal fire, it's ash that's falling down, which nice touch.
But doesn't it also do a shout back to the fact that some of the early Silent Hill stuff was based off that town that is closed with the coal fire underneath?
I sent that to you.
They drew inspiration
from not in the video game, but in the movie.
Okay. I thought like they kind of pulled inspiration for that even in the games.
No, not in the game. No, but
Centralia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Centralia, Pennsylvania.
There we go.
Centralia.
It was the basis of the design for Silent Hill.
It certainly was. I was actually there last year.
Yeah?
I went to Centralia.
You fucking dick.
I did.
You asshole! I said this is something we should have done together! I hate you so much.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm going to fucking destroy you later.
It was a road trip to Pennsylvania. It's like it's an 11-hour car ride.
That's why you didn't want to do it. You didn't want to be stuck with me for
I couldn't be stuck. No, and that's one way. I would have been stuck with you for at least 22 hours then.
Because that was something. Boy, let's see. That's 2 major things that we didn't do together that we said we were. Centralia and then fucking Fun Spot. God, I hate you so much.
You didn't even know about Fun Spot when I decided to go there.
Yeah, and then you guiltily fucking confessed to me, Andy. Andy, don't be mad.
I've already been there.
I've already been there. You fucking asshole. Anywhere else you want to go? The fucking moon? You want to go to the moon, bitch? God damn it.
Andy, I got something to tell you. I'm
I've
sorry.
been to the moon.
What?
I've been to the moon before. It's got great music.
Guess what? You're about to go there too, and it's going to be my ass in your face.
DuckTales.
DuckTales.
Oh god.
So, but yes, Centralia was the real life story of that was based, or that they based Silent Hill 1 the movie on, in which there was actually a fire that started under the town. I believe it started in 1962, and it is still. I don't know if it's necessarily like it's not like a raging inferno,
It's
but
like
it's still smoldering underneath the town, and the town went from about 2,000-ish
a
people.
major coal mining town.
Well, yeah, because a lot of towns in Pennsylvania, it was a large coal mining area, and it had about 2,000 people, and now, as of the last census, there was only a population of about maybe 10 people in there.
Wow.
And those people, like, they've actually, I don't know if they've condemned the town, but the government basically said that people can't move into the town. They have to move out. The only people who are still living there are the people who are basically grandfathered in, saying, no, I'm not leaving. I was born here. I'm gonna die here. I want to stay. This is my home. Mm-hmm. And so those are the only people who are still there. But yeah, when you actually look at it, it's so weird to actually see Centralia, because you see like tall grass and stuff like that, and you realize like this was a road. Like this was a main street in Centralia, and sidewalks that are just covered in grass, and just crazy things that it's like it's so hard to envision that this used to be a town that people like could travel to and call home and visit and share like holidays with. And it's just
crazy.
It's just so weird. So, but yeah, that's the real life inspiration for Silent Hill. But
that's cool.
Yeah,
we'll go there someday, Kevin.
Without
gonna leave his
I'll
ass
go.
out.
I'll go back. I'll go back.
What a dick. Oh, I'm butthurt as hell about this.
Of course you are.
All right. Well, like we said, Silent Hill 4 kind of dropped off. I didn't play Downpour, but I did watch Shattered Memories, and I really like Shattered Memories. I felt like that was almost kind of a lead up into 3?
Well, no.
Or was it 1?
It was 1.
I can't remember if the daughter was Cheryl or if it was Heather. Or wasn't Heather Cheryl? It was something weird. There was like some weird thing with it.
3 is the only one of the Silent Hill games that actually was like a direct sequel to 1.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Otherwise, each game has kind of been like its own self-contained story. And it was Cheryl in the first one, and then in the third one, she her name was Heather, because she was renamed because they were on the run from like, I don't know, some entity, and so her dad had changed her name so that she was hidden. And so that's where Cheryl and Heather come from. And Silent Hill Shattered Memories was a reimagining of the first one.
It was really good.
So that's why it's more of like a lead in into number 3, because it is the reimagining of 1, which was the precursor to 3.
Now, if I remember right, there were chapters throughout Shattered Memories that like you would play as, I think it was Harry. Right, Harry Mason, and then you'd be in a doctor's office, and like he would ask you questions, or he would tell you to do something, manipulate something on there, and it would actually, if I remember right, it would form the game. It would change things within the game that you encountered.
Well, that's right. Doesn't he ask you about your fears and stuff like that?
The way that you answer the questions, it's almost like the way that you answer is how the game is going to how it's going to turn out. Yeah, basically, it's kind of like almost like the fable of like, okay, you can the way that you answer questions and the way that you deal with people. It's like you either go on the side of bad or you go on the side of good, and and Silent Hill was kind of like that, but almost more in a psychological sense. So, but
I remember very vividly, and spoiler alert for anyone who wants to play Shattered Memories, when Harry does end up getting to where he's trying to go, he ends up in the doctor's office with Heather, I guess, or Cheryl, and you realize that he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of like feels his presence or whatever. It was really touching.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is really cool. They did such a good job with it.
Yeah.
And that's why, and the movie too, I feel like ties into that idea of it's more of a hell.
Mm-hmm.
Like the end of the movie when she's on the bed and he goes outside and he feels like he feels her and the car's not there even though you see her in the house. It was very surreal.
That was oh god, I will never forget that ending too, where it was like such a
Depressing
ending because you're like she made it. She made it out. She got to the house and then she goes in there and like the song that's playing at the end at that point it's called Magdalene and it's so like it's such a haunting tune. And that's playing. I'm getting goosebumps just even thinking about it.
I do now.
See, now I feel like I'm fucked up because, like, to me, I laughed at that ending. Just like at the ending of The Mist, where he kills the old couple in his car, and then he kills his son. The mist clears, and the military walks by. I started laughing at the ending.
Like,
yeah,
you idiot.
She's like sitting on the couch or she's sitting in a chair, and then you think that she's looking at Christopher. And then it's like you see him, and it's like, well, wait a minute, it's sunny where he's at. Like,
yeah,
what's
and
going
it's still
on?
foggy where she is.
It's still foggy where she's at.
The overlay that they have on
it was really
but
cool.
it was so well done, and you're just like, no, she didn't make it. She's stuck in Silent Hill.
It was just such a beautiful piece. I
was.
loved that movie.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
Such a good
definitely
movie.
screwed up.
Well, that went without saying. So, a lot of people, those are the two juggernauts, obviously, Silent Hill, Resident Evil. There are also a lot of other, like, survival horror type games, especially from the PS1 era. Parasite Eve, I feel like falls into survival horror in a sense.
The first one does.
Yeah, the
second one I would say the second one is
supernatural.
Because it's all about the mitochondria and the DNA basically saying fuck these organisms and doing its own thing.
Yeah. 2 felt more action
because
it didn't have a separate battle arena.
To be honest, that would be where I think the action horror started more so than with Resident Evil 4 is Parasite Eve 2 because it's the active battle system.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You walked into an area and then the battle thing would start and it wouldn't. It was
just like you could do the bubble that came around you that showed you your range. You would attack, and you'd ran around while you waited for your ATB gauge to fill up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least that was the way it was in 1. And 2, it actually worked like the old Resident Evil games, where it's like you enter a room and you could draw your gun and just start shooting at shit. And then once the room was clear, it would do your experience and all that other stuff. Items.
That's right. It only did the dome with the powers and stuff because or was it the line that you selected?
In the first one, it was everything. Any action you took, it did the grid to see.
But I can't remember how you targeted with powers in the second one because I know you could directly target in that one.
It depended on what you were using.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, I really liked Parasite Eve 1. But that one was, again, it kind of played like Resident Evil in the sense that it was kind of biological. Like you said, it was based on mitochondria and all this other shit. You know, things are transforming and people are bursting into flames.
I'm sorry, that opening
awesome.
opera cinematic is one of the best cinematics in gaming, period.
So haunting, and it was
when she's
so
just
great.
on stage singing, and all of a sudden people are bursting into flames, the stage starts engulfing, and then she transforms.
It was like Carrie as fuck.
It's fucking awesome. And then there's the rat when he transforms.
Yeah, when the rat just starts struggling and
spits out his mouth.
Oh, fucking just oh god, Parasite Eve gave me the willies. Even you felt bad for the dog.
Yeah,
when the dog transformed into the Cerebus, and you were like,
that wasn't until they released Third Birthday, and then you were like, go fuck yourself.
Oh, what a travesty that game was.
I mean, also time travel. What?
No, don't put time travel. No.
Poor Parasite Eve. That was a series I feel like should have gotten farther.
I would love to see that one just remade. Just to say, hey, scrap all the other ones and start a new story based on the original premise.
Mm. Yeah, Parasite Eve was one. One you had mentioned earlier, Galarians was a good one.
Galarians Ash for PS2.
Yeah.
They were my favorites for survival horror on PS1 and PS2.
That one had to do a lot with, like,
walking into a room, seeing a guy, and then just being like, no, bitch, pick him up with gravity or light him on fire with pyrokinesis or... if you short it out and you like your head starts to get these sparks going around you.
Yeah, you get like the migraine.
You start walking next to guys and their heads, they just stop, they grab their heads, their head explodes.
Oh, it was really cool. Yeah. It was a very fun game.
The thing that sucked was if you were in that state and you fought a boss, you got your ass kicked.
Oh yeah, you were fucked. Because once that ran out, you lost health slowly because it was hurting you.
Well, you couldn't use your powers. You couldn't really do anything.
I know there were ways to get rid of it. But
you had the injector.
That's right. That's where he shoots the thing into his neck.
P-pack or something like that. Yeah, he had a hyper syringe that he just put into his neck, and he'd inject different drugs. He would take pills to increase his powers.
Yeah, it was a really good game.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I never played Ash though. I haven't. I think
I've never finished Ash. No. I don't think you do.
I
think you have the strategy guide for it, but not the game.
It wouldn't surprise me. What are some other lesser known titles? Obviously, Rule of Rose is an unsung hero of survival horror.
Yep.
You know, that's a holy grail to a lot of people.
Yeah, well, the holy grail on the PS2.
Yeah, and the price reflects it.
It does.
Woo!
One that's actually, I think, lesser known because it technically is survival horror, but it really, there's no... It's a point and click. What?
Sorry, quick thing, guess how much Rule of Rose is complete?
$250.
No.
Now,
Did it go?
Not that high.
Did it go up?
It's $290.
Oh, jeez.
Jesus Christ.
Holy cow.
I was expecting it to have jumped after the last time.
I was too.
But yeah, this one's a point and click, but you really don't... It's hard to describe, but D.
Yeah.
D is actually survival
Laura!
Yeah. But it's that's one where it's survival horror, but it's you really trying to uncover what happened to your father. Where basically you go to Los Angeles Memorial Hospital and you find out that your dad has killed all these people. And you're like, what the hell happened? And then you get transported into this Victorian style home where you realize that it's a world that is created of his mind, and you just have to get to the bottom of it, and you find out in the end that it's he's got the blood of Dracula in him, and so that's what is going on. And I honestly, the first time I played that game, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
First time I played it was for the Sega Saturn, actually. Yeah.
I know D2 was kind of...
D2 is more of a Parasite Eve-ish game.
I remember battles where you were in the center and things kind of went around you and you kind of aimed and shot.
Yeah, it was a lot different than what... it was a lot different than its predecessor.
That was Dreamcast, I think.
It was Dreamcast,
it was D2.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, there's another franchise, Dino Crisis.
Dino Crisis was...
I'm sorry, mechanically, they were vastly superior to the two Resident Evil.
It was...
Being able to hold your gun and move was a game changer.
Oh, yes.
Especially when the Raptors and stuff were, doing their thing and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I remember loving Dino Crisis.
Yeah, because that was really a Tomb Raider-ish kind of function where you could actually run and shoot your guns.
Well, you really couldn't run.
Well, you could walk and
you
shoot
could do that
at the same
slow
time.
strafe that you see them cop shows and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But Dino Crisis was the first. I remember the demo that was included with Resident Evil 3 because that's when they were showing it off. Yeah.
Yeah, when they would promote things like
Which
that.
is funny because
then Dino Crisis 3 went off the rails and went up into fucking space or whatever.
Yeah.
Space dinos!
They wanted... Well, it's they wanted to do...
They kept trying to one-up the other people.
Well, they wanted to do a Resident Evil, but they're we want to do it with dinosaurs. How can we do this and still call it Resident Evil? And they're well, why don't we just do a spin-off series? And that's exactly what happened with Dino Crisis.
Yeah.
But Clock Tower is another, I think, underrated, highly underrated, and highly under-talked about survival horror series where, talk about helpless, it doesn't get much more helpless than that. The second one, it
kind of got weird.
It strayed away from that in the sense that you actually are a hardened criminal who does have a gun in that one, so it's you don't feel as helpless, but... It's funny because it kind of turns it on its side where you're a hardened criminal who's being chased by some little girl who is will kill you if she catches you.
Well, it's weird because you get possessed. You have two different things where you're the main character and then all of a sudden you get possessed by something and then you're the criminal.
Yeah.
But you're being chased by that little girl with the mask with a knife.
Yeah.
And you're
exactly.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's why am I scared of her? And then you realize that it's well, you can't stop her and you can't shoot her and it's you're dead.
Another good one was Illbleed. from the Dreamcast.
That's right, for the Dreamcast, yeah.
Very surreal, very strange. You were like trapped in a theme park.
It was, yeah.
And each attraction was a different survival horror thing.
It was,
It was very bizarre. I remember one specifically where you turned into like a goofy mannequin. It was just very strange and kind of weirdly cerebral, but not really, because it was very goofy.
To me, it's like, it was B horror. I mean, it intended to be like that. And I remember just trying to play one of the levels, and it was just so damn hard.
It's brutal.
It's got a brutal difficulty, but honestly, the game is like, it's so super fun. It is creepy, and it will keep you on edge.
Yeah.
I've got one that you guys might laugh a bit, but you remember the TV show Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, yeah.
Get out of here.
There was a point-and-click, almost Myst-style game on PC for them that was kind of fucking creepy at the time, because it was one of those ones where it used, like, live-action stuff.
Oh, it was FMV?
Yeah.
Really?
So you would do stuff, and then, like, the mummy would follow you. It'd be in the display 1 minute, and then later on, the mummy wouldn't be in the display, and they would be wandering around coming after you and shit like that.
Are you afraid of the dark?
I mean, it wasn't the greatest, but it was one of those ones where it's like, it pushed the envelope on PC for what they were doing at the time, so...
Get the fuck out of here.
Fuck you, Paul. I know where you sleep.
I'm actually... This is a weird tangent, too. I take it you never watched the TV show, because that was cable.
No, it was cable.
Did you ever watch the TV show?
I watched both that and Goosebumps.
Do you remember
Goosebumps.
the Are You Afraid of the Dark movie, where it was... Because Are You Afraid of the Dark's premise was these kids around a campfire, and they would tell ghost stories.
It was a kid's version of Outer Limits or Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
That's all it was, but it was a bit more horror-themed than...
It was campfire stories,
Yeah.
you know, and it was these kids huddled around a campfire every so often. They would tell ghost
The
stories.
Twilight something club? The Midnight Club?
remember
Because I remember they had the bag...
It was the Midnight Club.
There we go. And they threw, like, the powder from the bag into the fire, and it went...
Yeah, and it would say what episode it was, but I remember the movie was that, but it was... The kids were in the movie. Like, the kids were in the story.
Yeah.
So I think it was, like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? The Tale of the Silver Sight. Or something like that. And I remember it was, like, some weird little charm, and it was ghosts following or some weird shit, but it was... God, that brought back memories. We'll have to remember that one for the 90s episode. But, yeah. I mean, there are so many more survival horror games we could talk about.
Tons and tons of like, the ones based on Cthulhu and all of that.
I mean, you got Siren, you got Kuan, you have...
Fatal Frame. What's the
Fatal Frame series.
What's the one on the Wii where you only have, like, the flashlight?
Fragile Dreams.
There we go.
That one's kind of a weird, like, anime-ish one.
That's a kind of a blend of genres, but it's still a survival horror. Like, there is nothing. You have no idea what's going on. You're scavenging just, like, little parts here and there, and...
Yeah, it was a cool one. But, I mean, we could go on for a while about it.
And technically, if you want to count this as survival horror, a lot of people do, Friday the 13th for the Nintendo is technically survival horror.
I'll give it to you, because it was...
Castlevania's an action horror.
It was scary when fucking...
Jason would
he
just
came out of nowhere
yeah.
and fucking swipe at you. You're like, what the fuck?
Inside the
homes.
The homes and stuff, or the cabins. Yeah.
I remember actually being kind of like, I hated that feeling of wandering in the house and then you turn around and he comes at you and you're like, oh fuck!
That music that would start right then.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, there's so many like games that are underappreciated. That Haunting Ground obviously was
Haunting Ground on PS2 as well. Yeah.
Extermination.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Haunting Ground. Sorry to go back to that one, but Haunting Ground was Capcom.
Yeah.
And it's like, how with Capcom's, like, with how big of a company they were, especially at that time on the PS2, of the PS2 era, how do not more people know about that game?
Yeah. It almost feels weird that one fell to the wayside.
To be honest, I think mostly because during PS2's life cycle, most people were playing either like sports games or RPGs. Those were the heavy hitters in those days.
Sucks to be them. I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of most.
But I mean, it's true. Yeah. Look at them, like a large chunk of PS2's library. It's some of like the most known RPGs. That have ever like franchises that have ever come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
PS1 and PS2, I would say were some of the heaviest RPG hitters.
Yeah. So
that's off topic. All right. So there you go, survival horror. So we'll move on to our last segment, finally. This might be a little longer of an episode.
Sorry.
Sorry, we talk. Fuck you.
As Paul and I mentioned in the first episode, he and I actually worked in a cemetery together for a few years. Paul longer than I. Obviously, he got me the job there. And Kevin actually used to work Fright Fest at Six Flags. We'll start with St. George Cemetery in Kenosha, Wisconsin, talking about some of the stuff we saw there. Some very strange things.
We did see some strange things.
Did you ever feel off when we worked there?
No.
Maybe not so much during the day, but like when it would kind of get more like twilighty or like you never.
No.
Even
never.
when we worked in the old church together. Well, never together. You were there by yourself.
Oh, in the old church.
Yeah, in the chapel?
That was actually
That was pretty
when I got
terrifying.
scared. That was when I
Yeah.
got scared. But no, I would say for the most part, working in a cemetery, it wasn't scary.
No.
Because it was actually right by the lake. It was very peaceful. It was very
beautiful.
serene. And when you really think about it, if you believe in ghosts do not haunt cemeteries. Contrary to popular belief, a ghost...
Like you're an expert.
Yes.
No, I'm just saying.
Based on what theory, Paul?
Because they say they say that when people pass away, they will haunt the place where they were most comfortable, where they
It's not what Supernatural taught me.
where they had the most meaning in their life.
Yes.
So it's like their old home, their old childhood home, or their old home that they love so much. Some
object, something
place
or other,
that they ended up liking.
The place they were killed.
Yeah, exactly. Why would a ghost visit? Like, why would it haunt a place where
Maybe
it's buried?
these were peaceful ghosts that just wanted to relax at the old folks' home.
Maybe. That's a good point.
See, fuck you, Paul. I just destroyed your theory.
That's a good
But you're
point.
right, actually.
But no, and so it's like that to me is like I never got scared because I'm like, why would they haunt like a place where they're buried? Like it's just no, you're not gonna do that. And people like the first thing that people would ask me, and I would always get a laugh out of. It's like, you worked in a cemetery. Isn't that scary? I'm like, no, it's not scary.
It was noon.
No. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not scary working in a cemetery. They're all dead.
Yeah. What are they gonna do? Come out of the ground?
Yeah, what are they gonna do?
They're buried in concrete vaults for just that reason, so they don't come out.
Exactly.
I mean, that's not the reason, but that's yeah.
And
Paul,
I
you
swear-
lost your chance to say, I see dead people.
I see that.
No, I'm with you though. It honestly was where I kind of felt at peace.
Yeah.
You got a strange sense of serenity working at the cemetery.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah, and honestly, it was hands down the best job I've ever had.
Mhm.
I mean, we came in, put headphones on, we did landscaping to keep the place looking good. If there was funerals, we dug the holes, we buried them. Like, it was honestly like the best time of my life around that time.
The only time where it was like I was actually like I got scared was there was actually one time where I was cleaning the chapel like office and that they had on the property, and it was an overcast day, so there wasn't really much sun. It was kind of raining and hazy out, and I was cleaning this like what was almost like a house on the second floor, and I was cleaning out the rooms and just kind of making sure, mopping the floor, dusting, and
Well, it was a nunnery, I think, was what was under there.
yes, yeah, it was like where the nuns used to live.
Yeah.
And there was this point where I was standing at the top of like a set of stairs, and I turned to look down the stairs, and it was like one of those things like has it ever happened to you where it's like you see almost like a shadow type thing, and then it just like as you look at it you can kind of see a little bit of that shadow, and then it just kind of like it's turning, like goes away. Like it was enough to, like when I saw it, it was enough to make me kind of gasp, like is somebody else in here? And so I went down the stairs, and then I looked around the corner, and it's like,
And there was Andy with no pants on.
oh god, oh god,
Survival horror this!
oh god.
That's a different genre.
And
No, I know what you
it
mean.
was just like a solid wall. It's like they couldn't have gone anywhere else if there was somebody in there. And I'm like, I swear to God, there was somebody in here.
Bill? That was our boss's name, and you could hear him coming because he had a cane.
Yeah.
This is Bill.
So, and then taking care of the church, as you said too.
That's
The
where I
church-
felt afraid.
The church was actually it was a defunct church that had gone. The two churches had merged. This one was no longer used, and so we were taking care of it, trying to. they were trying to sell it,
off.
and it wasn't selling, but we had to take care of it, and so it hadn't been used in about 4 or 5 years. And the place, it was so sad because it was just falling apart, and just being in there was nothing overtly scary about it per se, but it really made me feel like Silent Hill, like the classrooms in Silent Hill, like some of those classrooms that we would go into of the attached like school and stuff.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely like terrifying. I remember going into the library too. I took a couple books from the library.
You son of a bitch.
I did.
I stole from a church.
I did. I took the novelization of Willow, actually. And
Why was that in a church?
And I found the novelization of the Goonies.
Because you need to be able to show who the devil is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
when they would bring me there to shovel in the winter, because that was the thing we have to do sometimes. He would leave. My boss would drop me off, and then he would go do his shit, and then come back and pick me up. Yep. Well, he would leave us the garage door opener so we could get in the building, so we weren't out in the frickin' cold.
Yeah.
So I remember I was waiting for him. He's like, "All right, I'll be there in like 45 minutes." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I was sitting there waiting, and I was like, kind of wandered around, see what this place is, because you're curious. Mm-hmm. So I was wandering around, and I remember going down the stairs, and it gets dark in that chapel and the church and stuff. And, they must have had the boiler going at the time, probably to keep the place heated, just for the pipes and stuff.
Sure, yeah.
But I remember that I was down there. And like you'd said, you feel like you see something out of the corner of your eye.
Yeah.
And it was that coupled with, like, the boiler kicking on. We hear that click, 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 whoosh. Yeah. Like, everything flames up and you hear, like, the thing settle. And, dude, it scared the piss out of me. I was like, nope! I ran back upstairs. I sat in the garage for the other 35 minutes.
Yep.
Closed the garage door. I was like, whatever. And that's enough for me.
And a funny story, too, because actually, I think the school was, like... God, when we were working there in 2007-ish, 2000. No, it was before.
It was 2004, 2005.
Oh, okay, so it was only 4 or 5 years then that it had been defunct, because we went into the basement that one time. I have to tell this story because Andy still teases me to this day.
Is this a PG story?
Yeah, very much so, very much so. So obviously there was a school attached to the church. And there was a freezer like in the basement where obviously like near where their cafeteria was, and inside the freezer there was still ice cream bars. Like there was
40-year-old. No.
there was, I think they were it was like ice cream sandwiches, and then there was Bugs. And then
Bugs freezer burn, they're fine.
Exactly. And Bugs Bunny, like the ice cream bar, like
the ones you get out of like the ice cream truck.
Yeah, with like the gumball, with like the gumball eyes and stuff. And no, it wasn't an ice cream sandwich. It was like the. Do you remember those like eclair bars that were on the stick? Yeah, that's what it was. And so they were like 5 years old, and
they're still fine.
I don't know if somebody like dared me or if I just was just like, you know what, I'm kind of hungry, let me try and see this. I took out an ice cream bar and I opened it up, and the thing had like friggin' a lot of freezer burn on it.
Just coconut.
But I ate it, and I'm like, honestly,
once you get past the surface layer where the gum starts breaking down,
it tastes pretty good. And I ended up having like, between the two different kinds, I had like 7 of them. I never got sick, and I'm like, hey, you know what? This is good stuff.
Glad you won that lottery instead of the other one.
I did, yes. God. Yes, I won that lottery.
Yeah, I mean, we did all sorts of weird shit there. The most haunting thing to me was exhumations.
Oh, yeah.
Where we had to dig up people that had been there for a while.
Yeah.
The worst ones were like the children.
Yeah.
Those were tough.
Yeah.
But I remember one that our boss Carl told me. It was they were exhuming a guy from the old cemetery, because the cemetery was broken up into 2 different parts. Mm-hmm. There was the newer sections and then the older sections, which not many people went to the old cemetery. That was like people from, Jesus Christ, if I remember some of the headstones, like the early 1900s.
Yeah, the oldest one that I remember seeing in there was 1875.
Yeah. So I mean, there weren't many plots out there left or just used. But so Carl told me a story once where they were exhuming a body with the vault company, because they traditionally when you do it, you would exhume the body, you would crack open the vault, and you would move the body from that into a steel box for transportation and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you'd think they would have had a better way to do this. But to transfer the body from the casket to the steel box, they used shovels. Like, they would just have, like, 3 or 4 dudes pick up the body with shovels and scoot it on in. Like I said, it was 2000-something. You'd think they'd have a better way. Guess not.
Not once they've been buried that long.
No, but he's saying they were getting ready to lift, and one of the vault guys was at the head and lifting it from the shoulders or whatever, and he was just talking mad shit about the person who was buried there. Just saying, "Oh man, fucking looks terrible right now. You know, you've seen better days. I wouldn't hit it. Like, I would have hit it with your dick." Like, it's a stupid ass jokes. But Carl said as soon as he had made, like, a joke about that, like, where he was holding slipped and the head popped off into the shovel, the head rolled around and stared right at the guy. He says the guy dropped the shovel and ran. He said it was the creepiest shit he'd ever seen. Almost like the body heard him talking shit about him, and then said, "I'm gonna get you, motherfucker."
And the head fell off?
The head popped off into the shovel and rolled in the shovel and looked directly at him.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to stop laughing.
Oh, no, that would have terrified me.
Yeah, it was
But
one
then
of
again,
the creepiest things.
that's why you never talk ill of
That's
the
like
dead,
ill of the
though.
dead, man. You never know.
Nuh-uh.
But that was the
do
one
that.
story that stuck out in my mind.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. So, but otherwise, I loved it there.
Yeah, no, it was very peaceful. And I swear to God, if anybody tries to tell me a damn cemetery joke, I've already heard them all. Why do they put gates around cemeteries? Because people are dying to get in. Oh boy, you must work in a high position because you're walking over people all day.
Actually, I kind of like that.
Yeah, never heard that one.
Well, anyway, Kevin, what was it like working Fright Fest? That's kind of more of a manufactured kind of scare, but I would
Idiots.
imagine at some point,
Idiots everywhere. Well,
I would imagine that type of thing
it's a
has
very
bits.
interesting look at the way people are and how they react. People come there knowing that the entire reason they are there, especially after a certain point in the day, is to be scared. And like, so, you know, you're there, you're intentionally there with this mindset of, I'm going to get scared. It's like watching a horror movie.
Yeah.
You're watching a horror movie because you want that
what you're getting
thrill,
into.
that rush.
Yeah.
But people would automatically, like, and I know some people did it intentionally where they would react and, like, assault an actor or something like that, but there were people who would genuinely, if I could fucking speak, would go into an actual flight or fight response. They'd get so scared, they would just start swinging and fall to the floor.
Whoa.
And would not move until people came in with flashlights and escorted them out without characters around them, because they would just get that scared. But they pay for these experiences.
Well, is it true too? Because I mean, you being one of those performers before, is it true that if somebody looks scared, they're like you single them out, you pick them?
No,
or
actually, it's usually the opposite. So the way, like, especially with haunted houses, groups usually come in. Sometimes, like, you know, anywhere from, like, a small group of, like, 2 or 3 up to a group of maybe. You really don't want to push 6, because at that point, lines just get too long. But usually, your first reaction is, I'm going to look for the alpha. I'm going to find the person that's not acting scared and go for that one.
Oh,
That's usually your first reaction. So they're usually the first person in the front of the line.
oh, okay.
You ignore that person every single time, because they will react more from the people behind them being scared, jumping and reacting to being scared, and that will scare them. So it becomes this, like, so
That is clever.
you wait for the person to go by, and then you target the weak links in between, and then it becomes this chain reaction where everyone reacts.
You're scared because everyone's scared.
Yep.
That's
funny.
cool.
Well, and not to mention that, like, okay, say someone's walking behind you, say, you know, you're in the front, and say, you know, you got your girlfriend or something behind you. She's got her arms around you. So when she physically reacts and you aren't prepared for it, what's your first reaction going to be? She's going to, like, genuinely react, and then you genuinely react because
Yeah.
you're not
expecting-
intending
yeah.
for that type of movement.
You're startled.
Yeah.
That's clever. Kind of like a domino chain.
Well, and it's
you're
an
there
entire
to
thing.
start it and just let the dominoes fall where they lie.
Everything from room
Why
layouts
were they
to
fall?
like the coloring to ambient sounds, because there are sound frequencies that make people feel unsettled.
Oh, yeah.
You use all of that when you're planning out haunted houses and stuff, and it's actually really fun to watch the way people go through and like different people react different ways, and it's really weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially, like I said, knowing these people are coming there for this
Yeah.
this effect.
I
So-
remember when I was a kid in elementary school, they did a haunted house thing. So it's cheesy as hell. And I remember I was walking through it, and I had to be maybe 3rd grade, 4th grade. So I remember going through the thing where the haunts, and this guy jumped at me, and I tried to play it off like I wasn't scared. It was right off the bat, and I was like, oh, I hurt my shoulder. Like I was like, oh, I stepped on something. What was that? And then I remember somebody else coming. I was like, can you not yell? I hurt myself. Like my ear hurts. I don't want anybody to yell at me. And I remember just making up excuses the whole way for the people not to jump at me.
That happens a lot, and it is as an actor, it is really hard not to start breaking out of character and laughing in their face.
The people that try to act tougher than they actually are.
Yeah.
I feel like those are the funniest.
Oh yeah.
You know, I feel like I've gone through so many different, like, mindsets when going through, like, haunted houses or, like, these kinds of, like, scare fests and stuff like that. Where I think when I was younger, it was about trying to, like, be brave, but knowing that, like, I got scared pretty easily. And so it's like, I just tried not to be scared, but the more I tried not to be scared, the more scared I got. And then it's like, as I got a little bit older, I started being one of those guys who it's like, yeah, if somebody came up to me, I would, like, start kind of getting in their face, too. It's like I'm going to lay you out if you get any closer to me. And then it's like, now I'm I know, it's like such a stupid
Such a
thing to do.
douchebag
I know,
move.
I know.
Well, and the funny thing is, they actually have entire haunted houses that are on the more extreme end, where basically
Like, they can fuck with
they
you.
have
Yeah.
leadway to screw with you.
Yeah.
They lock you in fridges. They put you in chest freezers.
Jesus.
They have ones where they will psychologically fuck
Yeah.
your life up if you're
Yeah.
not prepared for that sort of shit.
And there's some where you actually have to, like, you have to sign
waivers.
waivers. And then there's some where it's like you literally go on a waiting list for this one that you will eventually get into there like 3-4 years later, something like that, where you get selected. But anyways, yeah, I don't do that anymore. And now now I just try my best to, like, break, like, their character. I try to get them to laugh. Like,
Oh, a ball popped out. I'm so scared.
Ectoplasm everywhere.
What was that? What was that?
When I get scared, I come.
No, it's like I will. Well, honestly, like I will. I'll flirt with, like, some of the females.
Oh my god.
And some of those actresses, like, they're really beautiful.
Oh yeah, we have
And-
lots of fun behind the scenes.
And so I would literally, like, if I was with somebody, I just, like, I would be staring at this gal who's, like, trying to be creepy, and I'm just like, dude, she is, like, so incredibly, like, gorgeous. Like, and so, like the kind of flirting, like, not
what's your
directly, but it's like, you know I'm talking about you.
Flexing
And
a
it's-
little.
He's doing the Andy at the restaurant.
And,
thing. Wink, wink.
No. But no, I will tell you though, I have had more of them break character, kind of like they'll start smiling, and it's like, I gotcha.
Gotcha.
I gotcha. You broke character. You're not supposed to smile. You got to keep straight. Nuh-uh.
Depending on the character.
Yeah.
There are some characters that smiling is creepier than being like
Well,
scared.
and some,
Yeah.
and some will actually, like, they'll incorporate that, like, they'll giggle or they'll smile, and it actually just makes their character more creepy. But some of them, you can tell it's like they naturally want to, like,
Oh yeah.
they want to
Like I
break
said,
characters.
it's hard not to laugh at certain stuff that's going on. So,
Yeah.
honestly, and I know at one point the company I worked for Fright Fest actually did haunted tours through Kemper Center.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So like I was going to work for him, and then I was just like, nah, fuck this. And
Yeah.
but like I went through it when they had it all set up because Kemper Center never allowed shit like that before.
No.
Like they literally, there was a high school group that would be able to do stuff with like the gymnasium, and that was literally it. But Kemper doesn't allow people to go through.
No, they don't. They don't like it because it's actually legitimately. I think
That's one of the. It's one of the
legitimately
places,
haunted or something.
It's one of the
They claim
locations
that
in
it's-
southeast Wisconsin that's claimed to be haunted.
Claim to be haunted. Yeah.
I mean, there's
Is it
entire.
really?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
it
there's
is.
entire like areas that they've completely stopped all renovation on because they can't finish it.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Like it'll be like they claim it's stuff like power tools will be brand new. You'll bring them in, you'll start working,
And they'll just
stop.
They'll
Electrical
just
stuff stops working. Like they run a power cord, like extension cords and stuff.
like some weird magnetic field there.
Yeah. shit just
almost
stops
like an
working.
electromagnetic
Like, yeah,
pulse,
it's-
EMP.
Like that's like there's all over in that place that's like that.
I've actually never heard of
supposedly.
that before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Kemper. You should look it up. Kemper is one of the places. It's kind of weird all the stuff that's happened there.
Huh.
So
I'm surprised, like ghost hunters, like if only.
they don't allow any of the televised ones to ever come through.
Oh really? Oh.
They have
This is a joke.
They have
Oh, yeah.
allowed small like local ghost hunting things to
Oh,
come
gotcha,
through,
yeah.
but they never really allow too much stuff to go through there. That's why like when JPM actually did do the haunted tours through there, it was more than anyone has been allowed to set up in there ever. So, and I mean, even like afterwards, I heard that even they had issues with some of the equipment here and there and stuff like that. But I'm like, eh.
He's not part of our crew.
Yeah, but those are the
God.
ones you want working for you.
Yeah, right? Doesn't get any better than that. An actual ghost!
To digress a little bit, funny story once. I for Halloween one year, we were like it was trick or treating time in the neighborhood, and I don't know why, but my older brother was also like we were at my parents' house, and he was dressing up he dressed up as like a big gorilla that he would just be on the front porch holding the bowl and,
and
people thought like, oh, it's just like
a stuffed gorilla,
it's a stuffed gorilla, and then he would scare them. And I don't know why he asked me to, but I ended up dressing up as Michael Myers, and so I would
Oh, God.
yeah. And so I was on the side of my house, like in between like two houses, where as people were walking by, then they could see me, and then I would start slowly walking to them, or I would walk,
their attention is on you and
exactly,
not on,
or as they're walking up to the house to like grab candy, I would walk behind them, and then they would take the candy, they would get scared, and then they turn around and then they see me, and then they get really creeped out. And I remember there was this one kid. I felt so bad. So I started slowly walking towards him, and he started screaming, and I kind of like hesitated. I took another step, and he's like screaming. He's like, I peed my pants.
Oh, no!
I peed my pants.
You're a terrible person.
And he was. I felt so bad.
That happens more frequently.
He was dressed as a mummy too.
No!
He had plenty to wipe with.
That's terrible.
And so you could tell, and his mom was standing right next to him, and I slowly start walking backwards because I'm like, all right, I can't do this anymore. I've already done more than I should have.
Happens quite
and she could
frequently.
see that I was like walking slowly backwards, and
Hey!
and the mother's like, oh, dear, don't worry, he's a scaredy cat. It's okay.
He pisses his pants all the time.
And so I'm like, oh, okay. And it was so funny too, because and then on the flip side of that, like there was a girl who saw me from across the street, and I could tell that she was like legit, like she was terrified. And she just stood there and she was just staring at me, and she was like, it almost looked like she was about to cry. And so I was like, oh no, I don't want to make people cry. So what I ended up doing was I literally just started waving to her.
Oh, that's not creepy.
No. It like I kind of did like a gentle wave to her, and she smiled and she waved back to me, and then anytime
Pull out the knife.
no, I did not have a knife though. I didn't have a knife with me. But anytime then she saw me like on each side of the block too, she would kind of look at me and she'd smile and she'd wave, and I would just kind of like do this like little quick wave to her.
So, like,
Yeah, just because I didn't want other people to see me out of character and stuff like that. But I was like. So it's like on the flip side, like somebody who was like really terrified, and then all of a sudden she wasn't
those
terrified.
are more fun. Scar him for life, I said.
Oh, that kid who peed his pants. Always like it was the funniest thing when he just starts screaming. He's like, I peed my pants.
That's so funny.
Oh, it was so great. But yeah, I got my Michael Myers walk down. Like I could play the character really good.
Admittedly, I don't do haunted houses. Like it's not. I'm not afraid of them per se. I don't get enjoyment out of being scared. If that makes sense. Like, of course it makes sense. Nobody actually enjoys being scared unless that's what you're aiming to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just something to me is not appealing about it. That's why I really don't care for Halloween.
The only like haunted house styles I don't like are the ones that intentionally push you to make you feel claustrophobic.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not as fun to me. But like the ones that are like legitimate, good actors that can actually scare people, those aren't fun. But I have a habit of, because I've worked behind the scenes, I pick them apart as I'm walking through.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I'm used to being able to go into a dark room that has a strobe light going off and being like, there's a person there, there's one there, there's a prop here that's going to do something.
I actually, when I go into like I don't mind haunted houses. I like them. There are two things that I cannot stand with haunted houses, though, is one thing, and I don't even know if it's necessarily that I'm scared, but I don't like when they use chainsaws, real chainsaws.
Well, you remove the chain.
They remove the chain, but I'm like...
Or you weld the thing so it doesn't rotate the chain anymore,
yeah.
but you can still scrape it across the ground while it's going to make sparks and stuff.
Oh.
We used them all the time.
But I know, but it's like, for some reason, like, that's like
indoors
my one fear.
it sucks
like,
because of the noise.
Yeah,
but...
I can't stand when people use chainsaws. I will legitimately be terrified of the chainsaws. Just because of the fact that even though, like, most of the time you can see it doesn't have a chain on it, but I'm like...
Just on the off chance you're an idiot.
The noise is enough to make most people recoil.
Well, yeah, maybe it's not even just the noise, but I'm just like, dude, even though there's no chain on that thing, if it's spinning, like, you can still do, like, a little bit of damage with that thing. Like,
yeah, that can still hurt if you slip and fall and fuck me up with
exactly. The other thing that I can't stand, because I will get pissed off, is when people try to get up in your face, where, especially when it's like, okay, you go into there with, like, having to sign something saying, like, you are not going to put your hands on the actors. It's like, okay, if I can't put my hands on you, then you are not putting your hands on me, and you're not getting up into my face. Like, there was one guy who, like, I remember vividly, like, he got up into my face, and he headbutted me. And I'm like... Dude, seriously? Like, I can't... You made me sign something saying I can't touch you, but you can do whatever the hell you want to me? Like, no.
That
It doesn't...
Chances are that character was actually breaking a rule.
I was like, it doesn't work this way.
There are a lot of them that they have basically anywhere from like a 1 to like 10-foot rule type thing.
Okay.
Where they're technically only supposed to get within a certain distance, because... anything beyond that, and you risk triggering assaults and stuff like that.
I would imagine. Yeah.
And that's actually... With Fright Fest, we called the Gurney police more times a night than I care to admit.
Mm-hmm.
Because we would have people that would do the entire, we're here... They're not there to enjoy the show, to be scared. Mm-hmm. They're there to try to get away with actually assaulting people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So they'll go into the haunted houses, and someone will scare, and they'll just, here, motherfucker, boom, and just swing. Mm-hmm. And that's what they do. And those people, like, they're constantly getting arrested for doing shit like that.
Yeah, it's still assault, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
Like, being scared was not a reason.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, especially in an event like that.
Yeah.
You went there with that intention, knowing what's going on. Mm-hmm. It'd be different if someone...
went to a birthday party.
Well, it's like those stupid clown... Like, did you ever see when that became a fab where the people were dressed up as clowns to scare people?
Yeah.
If those people would have gotten assaulted, it would have been on them. Because they were doing something outside of the public norm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, like, any assault that happened to them is entirely on them.
Yeah.
But, like, when you go to a paid show and you get scared and assault someone, that's completely different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely some interesting things.
Definitely some interesting things.
We've hit a lot of topics. This is a long podcast.
Yes.
Well, that's the whole point of podcasts.
Yeah, that's true. I've tried to stick to an hour, but fuck it. It's a special Halloween edition, sort of. More survival horror.
Regulating podcasts. What are you thinking?
I don't know.
What? What was that? What was that? Oh, ectoplasm! It's running down my leg.
Just gotta go look for some clues. But yeah, I think that'll do it for our survival horror episode.
Yes.
Of the Power Trip Gaming Powercast.
Oh God, survival horror for life.
Yeah.
Love it.
If you could revive any franchise,
Silent Hill.
of course. I don't know why.
Why did you even ask?
Why did I even ask?
In second place, I would say Clock Tower.
Yeah.
I would love for them to go back to Clock Tower.
A well flushed out clock tower would be pretty fucking sweet.
Back where with Scissor Man. It's got to have Scissor Man in it.
Absolutely.
That is the clock tower that I am used to. Nothing else. None of the little girl from the second one. None of the supernatural elements from the third one and the magic that happened in the third one.
Yeah.
I want Scissor Man.
I agree. Kevin?
Beaglarians. If they could manage to, like, keep the tone between the horror aspect of all, like, the experiments on the people and stuff, and then being able to have those powers and doing stuff, and then with modern stuff being able to make puzzles interactive with it, it would just be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Parasite Eve, like we said earlier. I think that franchise would do extremely well today. Yeah. Just because it's with what they could do graphically, I think they could really make a very strong title out of that. So, tell us what you guys think would be a great series to come back. Tell us your favorite survival horror games. Maybe some we missed. Or some you think we should try to play on the channel sometime. Hit us up on Facebook.
Hit us up on Twitter.
Go to powertripgaming.tv. Watch the main channel where Paul and I try to beat the entire NES collection.
Yes. And watch some of our side quest episodes where we play stuff that is off the main quest.
It's true. We've been playing Resident Evil 4, Rule of Rose.
Castlevanias. We've done like Castlevania 4, Castlevania Bloodlines, and all those other good stuff.
And Symphony of the Night without Paul.
And Symphony of the
Night. That's true.
You bastards.
Kevin, as always, thank you for being with us.
Yep.
So, still haven't thought of an exit for the Powercast yet. Oh, we can't use that song anymore, remember? Don't be ridiculous.
I'm sorry. Cut that out.
So that'll do it for this episode of the Power Trip Gaming Powercast. Now you're listening
with power.